This is one of my favorite actors, pertaining to his acting abilities, his talents, where he come from, and what he stood for. Please listen to the tribute of Kirk Douglas.
For actor Kirk Douglas, one of the last movie stars from Hollywood's golden age. Amy is here with more on his incredible life and career. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Robin. While Kirk Douglas will always be remembered as an actor, he was so much more. Producer, director, author of a dozen books, and a humanitarian. So many missing one of the last links to old Hollywood this morning. He was the movie legend who became known as...
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
The eldest of his four sons, actor Michael Douglas, announcing his...
In other words, everybody wanted to be who he was because everybody supported what he supported. Everybody believed in what he believed in. Spartacus, the movie.
Death on Instagram, saying, "To the world, he was a legend, an actor from the golden age of movies who lived well into his golden years. But to me and my brothers, Joel and Peter, he was simply Dad." Douglas was a first-generation American who grew up poor in New York State, but hit the silver screen in the 1940s and never looked back.
The dark has a light of its own.
Appearing in more than 80 films throughout his life, including Champion, for which he received his first Oscar nomination.
St. Louis.
His third nomination would be for his turn as Vincent van Gogh in Lust for Life. In addition to starring in popular films like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I swear by my dad.
He would be forever known for his chiseled good looks and tough guy persona. He relished his work, as he told GMA.
Any field, if there is a secret, it's enthusiasm. As long as you enjoy doing what you're doing, and it's exciting, you want to keep doing it. As soon as
His impact on Hollywood measured not just in front of the camera, but also behind it, starting his own production company in 1955, which hired a number of writers blacklisted at the start of the Cold War. Following a stroke in 1996, Douglas famously accepting the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Academy Awards.
I am proud to be a part of Hollywood for 50 years. But this is for my wife, Anne. I love you.
The couple had...
You see, back whenever Hollywood was the real Hollywood, Hollywood had morals. Hollywood stood up for good, true, valued stories. Hollywood, rather than it corrupting society, was actually a big benefit to society, because in the way that it sponsored its roles in trying to maintain morals and at the same time walking that divided line between good and bad. He will be remembered as one of the originals that come from the original cast of TV and modern day Hollywood, towards the forming founders of that in which what was supposed to have been and remained in today's society, rather than the stuff that we're listening to and the stuff that we're becoming more and more adapted to today, that they call talent, or they call good acting. That is nothing more than a lot of slop and a lot of idiotic, pathetic, perverted junk that is harming humanity rather than helping it.
4 children, including Michael, who would famously follow in his dad's footsteps and frequently talked about his admiration for the man he simply called Dad.
Dad's history was that his father was not there. And then the one thing that he wanted to make sure that he did was to
make that effort for his sons, and then...
Michael, you're going to make me cry.
Well, don't do that.
And Kirk's daughter-in-law, Catherine Zeta-Jones, sharing this tribute, writing, "To my darling Kirk, I shall love you for the rest of my life. I miss you already. Sleep tight." He is going to be remembered so fondly today. 103.
Exceptional human being and story. Thank you, Amy, for that. We're following a lot of other stories this morning, including the investigation into that deadly plane crash, a passenger jet splitting into 3 parts. But now back to Ginger. How's the weather going to be?
Oh, you know what? In New Hampshire, cold. They're finally going to get some spring-like feel, that's for sure. This is going to be all part of it. Detroit, Michigan saw some of that snow that brought some of the issues. And right up the East Coast, we've got flash flood warnings. And we've got to get your local weather in 30 seconds. First, the rainy cities, sponsored by Target.
My name is Beatrice Dixon. I'm the founder.
It looks like so far the same type of weather patterns that persisted last year in regards to the heavy rains that caused the Mississippi River to overflow for about 5.5, 6 months. It looks like we're running into the same type of patterns this winter towards this spring of the same thing, because I tried to go to up towards Columbia, Missouri, give or take about a month ago, and they had already shut the ferry down running across the Mississippi River from Hickman, Kentucky, over towards on the Missouri side. And I'm pretty sure it hasn't been opened back up because the flooding is increasing rather than decreasing around in this particular area. So it looks like we're possibly running into the exact same pattern that we had last year of all the major flooding of everybody up and down the mighty Mississippi. There's something dysfunctional about our weather patterns that are bringing entirely too much rain whenever it does rain, and entirely too little of rain whenever it don't rain. Going from one drastic extreme to another. And I was listening to the news as of yesterday, national news, and they was talking about how that this January of this year was 2 points above the temperature of what it was last year. In other words, last year it broke records in January towards it being the hottest month recorded in January on the planet on both sides of the equator across the board. This year it has exceeded that by another 2 points. Not a whole degree, but it is still inching in the wrong direction towards the planet steadily warming up instead of it cooling down. And of course, this year in this area, I think we may have seen some flurries, but as far as it being a harsh winter with a lot of ice or a lot of snow or a lot of cold, we actually got more cold in the month of December than we ever thought about getting in the month of January. And that was in the beginning phases of along about Thanksgiving, ending part of November, beginning part of December, whenever we got our coldest temperatures around here. If I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me right. But all in all, the Weather Global Bureau, if you want to call it that, has announced that the month of January broke the all-time record of what the record had been broken last year of its all-time record of being too high. If that gives you any kind of indication towards where we're heading with this global warming of this environmental crisis.